What is the most unethical profession? Media outlets that take money from interest groups or owned by specific people and espouses their talking points instead of reporting the factual truth. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. Politicians shouldn't be, but the system makes it really easy for people to forget they are public servants and not out for themselves. In Australia, it's not even illegal for them to outright lie in their advertising. Every other business in the country has advertising rules they have to obey or get fined in the thousands, but police can say what they want and get away with it. I worked in the payday loan industry for a minute. Legal money sharks who prey on folks with poor credit to borrow money at insane interest rates, 700+%. Here's how it works. You need to borrow $700 until your next payday. On your payday, 2 weeks from now, you will need to pay back $854, 700 plus interest. If you don't have $854 to part ways within 2 weeks, no problem. Simply pay the interest, $154, and roll over to the next payday. Still don't have $854 on your next payday? Cool, just pay the interest and roll it over another 2 weeks. You could roll it 3 times before we asked for the full amount. The place that I worked at would allow customers to take out a new loan after that third roll to start the process all over. This place had customers who had been stuck in this cycle for years. I worked there in 2008 for about 5 months. Christmas came and the big boss asked why our default numbers, people past due on their payments, were so high. I said, if I were in our customer's shoes, I would be buying presents for my kids and trying to feed my family instead of paying on this loan. He grunted and snarled at me. Then I gave my notice. I have a half-sister who has 3 kids before 21, and later even more kids with a different dad, and treated the 3 original kids like literally red-headed stepchildren, utterly like garbage. I saw her show up for not even 5 minutes to her kid's 10th birthday, grab some stuff to take with her, and left. She worked at a payday place and said she'd never let someone she knew go there. It was too scummy for someone who abandoned several of her children. Televangelists. Easy, they're confident men. And true pieces of crap. Looking at you, Joel, I'm a garbage freaking person, Austin. Mediums and psychics who capitalize on the pain and grief their clients feel from losing someone they love. I will help you communicate with your dead loved one for $200 an hour. The Gabby Petito, SP, case was so fricked up with all the TikTok psychos. Oh, I'm sorry. Psychics posting videos saying she was speaking to them from beyond the grave. I understand people using services like that as a way to cope, and that's something I sorta get. But we recently learned that my grandma was paying this psychic in California a monthly fee for her consultation. One of the notes said that she should avoid talking to her families for her problems. You know, trying to make my grandma dependent on the psychic. So fricked up. I used to buy, trade and sell trading cards. It seemed an ethical cause. You'd always be trying to get an amazing deal from people, and especially kids. If someone didn't know the price of the card, you'd still haggle with them to get it even lower. I remember one of my buddies getting 3 cards worth $150 each for about $30 cause the guy didn't know the price had spiked a couple hours ago. Those people that try to sell alternative medicine. I'm talking about people who sell beads or stones or cream of grassroot or something made up to treat stuff like cancer or strokes or something. Literally just a scam to make money with no science behind it. My friend's mom believes in removing the bad energy through spiritual special foot scrub. Pays for it too. Not one that jumps to the front of minds. House flippers. I'm a realtor, and the things I've seen house flippers try to pull over on my clients is astounding. Sure, there are some good ones that do it by the book, but the bigger ones that buy in bulk just paper over everything, cut corners, and care only about their bottom line. I work with a lot of first-time home buyers, and without me there they would unknowingly be walking into a biohazard death trap. That and these companies prey upon people in dire circumstances and lowball the heck out of them to secure their property. Pharmacy benefit managers. They are completely unneeded, useless middlemen that significantly jack up the prices of medicine to line their pockets. People die because of them. People who scam the elderly. TBH. My grandma and a bunch of her elderly friends got scammed earlier this year by the same person. Most of these are criminal or borderline criminal professions. Here's the most unethical legal job, medical insurance executive. Agreed. This far down I haven't seen one mention of lobbyists either. I'm quite saddened. Essential oil companies that prey on housewives. Then they give the you can actually get a discount if you become a sales representative yourself. It's a placebo effect and Ponzi scheme all in one. This might get buried, but any home shopping network like QVC or HSN. I worked for HSN for a while some years ago, and the amount of old people that had no clue what they were buying that I had to scam because it was my job is insane. I had one of the nicest old people call me and just want to chat, and then ordered the item of the day and proceed to tell me that she had like 10 of them in her back room completely unopened, but she couldn't pass up this deal. I had another lady that wanted to apply for the credit card because her daughter took away all of her cards because she was broke and couldn't pay her bills. I couldn't say no. I had to do it or get wrote up. I ended up developing a bit of a nervous tic from it that I still battle with to this day, and finally just ended up quitting the day after I burned all my vacation hours because my mental health wasn't worth that. Seriously, frick shopping networks that prey on old people. They justify it as if they're providing a service. Disgusting. South Park made a whole episode about it and really dug in deep on those people. Pure scum. Car mechanics that try to take advantage of women that need a quick car fix and rob them dry for what only needed to be a $50 oil change. My dad was a mobile car mechanic and he would barely make a profit because he was simply too dang honest to do that. And he always tells me it's better to learn to do that stuff yourself than to pay a mechanic to do something in half the time it would take you, but double the cost. Can I say life coaches? They basically pretend to be therapists, charge people for really poor advice that could be really dangerous to their clients, all while avoiding the legal oversight actual therapists have by calling it life coaching. They have no standardization, no regulatory checks, and no way to report unethical behavior. Also, life coaching itself is basically a pyramid scheme of so-called coaches bringing in more coaches, who bring in more coaches. In other words, they are the chiropractors of mental health. Useless. Crystal healers, homeopathic remedy makers, or others that use pseudoscience and superstition instead, or medical products and procedures that are proven. Homeopathic and spiritual medication. There are lots of different forms of homeopathic medication, but I mean the ones that sell you oils, stones, mantras and crystals and claim to balance your life energy. I knew someone who'd speak with someone every weekend and pay $50 or $60 per session like some kind of therapy session. Except it was to fix her balance or something. They'd sell her all sorts of weird stuff like necklaces with certain crystals to protect against negative energy, or scented candles, or small wooden statues or something. They even visited her house once to rid it of evil spirits or something for $200. One time she got really upset with me and a few other people that we brought negative energies and spirits back into her house, and yep, she had another one of those Ghostbuster sessions. A week after she already paid, she asked me and a couple of friends to pay for it because it was our fault that she had to call the Ghostbusters, and she has almost no money left. A fight broke out about how ridiculous it all was and we never spoke again. It is truly evil to scam people with such balls. She was very smart, but this was just so weird that she fell for it. Yes, my mom is dying and on a kidney transplant waitlist. Her friend from high school messaged her about Diretto oils. When I found out, I got so mad and made her block the lady. Her friend said it'll cure her dead kidneys. Honestly, most people are talking about hitmen and traffickers, goons and fingermen, and that's bad sure, but in my opinion, they are merely symptoms of the diseases that hired them. The most unethical profession is any leader or politician that doesn't do their duty to make the world a better place. They are the ones that hire and support all of the aforementioned evils anyway. Payday loans. Want a loan with 600% interest? I have a friend who works her butt off, has had a difficult life and had been struggling a bit, and needed $250 to make rent. I had just set up her computer and had stopped by to drop something off, and she was filling in the financial info part of a Payday loan form, and had already clicked next after she entered her contact information. I stopped her and helped her out with the money in exchange for one of her amazing dinners if I bought the groceries. About a week later she called me crying, saying there was an officer coming to her house to arrest her for non-payment of the payday loan that she didn't get. These ruthless freaks took her info and tried to scare her into giving them twice the amount she was going to take out. I calmed her down, assured her, then reassured her later that night when she called me again that it was a scam and she wasn't getting arrested. This woman is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. She's older, doesn't have much of an education, but has raised some amazing children and would give you the shirt off of her back if you needed it. Frick those douchebag scammers. When I worked as a caseworker with SPMI, severe and persistent mental illness, clients, I worked with one woman who was being preyed upon by one of these places. She went in the start of each month once she got the money from her SSDI check to give them a big chunk of it. Keep in mind the senior citizen could no longer work due to a combination of mental illness and many other physical problems on top of her mental illness such as degenerative disc disease. Each time she paid the interest it was at least 25-30% of her money for the entire month. They had her convinced that they were doing her a favor. When I realized she was trapped in this cycle and had been for years, we worked on a plan to help her budget enough money to save each month to eventually be able to get out of the situation, also known as pay her way out, which took probably a year in itself because you're still paying interest each month to these pieces of crap. The people who work at these places are some of the lowest of the low. They are freaking disgusting. The beaten down hopeless faces of people I saw when I went inside was heartbreaking. Oh, and you had to be buzzed in because the door was locked 24/7. You either owed them or needed money. You had to plead your case through the intercom if you weren't a customer. When I went in there, we lied and said I was her grandson and I had to help her. I was fresh out of college. I watched them look people in the eye and lie, having them sign a contract that said the exact opposite of what they were telling people, acting like they were just good Samaritans helping the poor. I saw people plead and beg like you'd see in a mafia movie. They even rented furniture and junk items like boom boxes at astonishing rates to hook people in even more. They eventually saw my work badge one time. I had my jacket unzipped and realized who I was and they told me I wasn't allowed inside anymore. Most likely because they didn't want me to frick with their business. I'm glad you got out of that line of work. The top tier pieces of crap, lowest of the low scumbags work at payday loans. I recently went through a situation wherein my girlfriend, Jenny, had her car repossessed and I came away fully believing that system to be one of preying on poor people. Jenny and I recently moved and she forgot to update car loan information so the auto pay failed and missed 2 monthly payments, about $600. Definitely her mistake, but an honest one. The money was there but the system was in motion. Repo guys showed up to take the car. Jenny realized the mistake and called the bank her car loan was with, Huntington. The bank said they couldn't accept payment because the account was frozen so they had to let the guys take the car. Her car is taken. Then the bank explains the process. The entire remaining balance is due within 30 days or the car will be auctioned and any amount of the remaining loan not satisfied by the auction is Jenny's responsibility. That payment had to be made as a bank-to-bank transfer, which according to Bank of America, can only be completed by appointment with a bank manager. I expect this is because her loan account was put into a status that prevented payments from being made directly to the account via the website. Jenny's checking account is with BOA so she went there and a teller said only a bank manager or specialist person, the people with the clear offices, could handle it. Jenny took out a small loan out of her 401k to cover the remaining loan balance because she didn't have that amount on hand. Scheduled an appointment with BOA to transfer funds to Huntington. It took about a week and a half to get the money and pay off the loan. A fun point was that BOA's system was down so they couldn't do it the day she first scheduled it and had to reschedule a few days later. Now, Jenny calls Huntington and they confirm the car is paid off and she can pick up her car. It only gets worse from here. We're in Middle Tennessee. The car was towed about 2 hours away to Kentucky the day after being collected. It was then driven an additional 2 hours further away but still in Kentucky so Jenny would have to arrange a ride to get her car. Oh, and the place is only open MF and between 8 AM to 5 PM so her and I had to take off a full day of work to go pick up her car. Once we get to where the car was, a company called Odessa. There was about a $100 fee to collect it. The gas tank was on empty. There was fast food trash in it that was not there when it was taken, likely left by the driver, and a handful of items were stolen from inside the car. CDs, phone charging mounts, sunglasses. I don't know that I've never been more furious in my life. That industry preys on those that are financially troubled by making it as hard as possible to pay the fees and get the car. One of my co-workers used to be a repo man. One time he was telling me about his tattoo. Often while hooking up the car to tow it, the person would come up to him and say, "Isn't there some way I can get you to not take it?" On his left palm in all caps was tattooed "Pay here." He'd drop the car for $100 and tell his boss he didn't find it. I opined that sounded kind of fricked up. He said it was actually way cheaper for them to pay him and maybe have time to fix the situation than it would be to try and get the car unrepoed from the yard with the bank involved. He's not wrong, sadly. Outbound sales call center worker. You are literally told to lie to make sales, especially to older people. I once worked in a call center and it was for a catalog, so not actual cold calling but definitely trying to make sales out of nowhere. Anyway, I get a call one day and having a lovely chat with her for ages and putting stuff in her basket to send for her to try and get. Son comes home mid-call and starts telling me how she has dementia and is getting these calls, making orders and forgetting them, then forgetting to send them back, all while getting distressed about it because she can't remember anything and they were in the process of legal action to try stop the calls and spending. After he hung up, I asked my boss what to do and she said to just send it through. I felt like the worst person after that and the whole job just broke me. I left not long after that. Call centers are actual cesspits. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.